I'm not happy about it, but I'd be lying if I said I was surprised by it in any way, shape, or form. The Lilo and Stitch live-action remake that came out very recently is officially getting a sequel. A little over a month after the movie came out, Disney announced on June 26, aka 626 Day, Stitch Day, whatever, that they were making a Lilo and Stitch 2. And this doesn't surprise me at all in the slightest. I'm not saying that I'm okay with this. I'm not saying that I support this. I'm just saying this doesn't surprise me in the slightest, and there are several reasons why I felt like this was inevitable. The main reason being the massive success of the live-action remake. I know there are a lot of people online that are mad at this movie, whether it be just because live-action remake's bad, whether it be because of the changes that it makes to the original, or it could be both. It doesn't matter because, I agree with the changes being bad. I agree with that. I don't like this movie, but I will not deny that it is massively successful for a reason, because it's f***ing Lilo and Stitch. Again, I must remind you all that the internet is not real life. Casual audiences don't care about the animation is cinema crap. Really, nobody should care about the animation is cinema crap. They don't care about the backlash surrounding the changes that this movie makes to the original Lilo and Stitch. They just want to see funny, cute alien, and that's it. Again, this is Lilo and Stitch that we're talking about. Lilo and Stitch is one of the biggest Disney franchises of all time. Stitch himself, I want to say, is the most beloved Disney character of all time, outside of the core Disney characters like Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, Pluto, etc. Actually, I would go as far as to say that Stitch is a much more popular character amongst younger generations, amongst like millennials or Gen Z and whatnot. I'd say he's more popular than Mickey or Donald or Goofy or any of these other characters. Even with the mixed reviews that this movie has gotten, and even with the criticisms surrounding the changes that this movie makes to the original, it still made a lot of money because, again, the internet is not real life. This movie had a budget of only $100 million, and in its opening weekend alone, it made back that money. It made like $300 million, if I'm correct. And right now, it's at $900 million, just like that. And it has a shot at making it into the $1 billion club. Of course, we'll have to see how things will turn out for the movie, if it'll make it into the $1 billion club or not. It all depends on how much will the big 3 July movies affect the movie's performance. But even if it doesn't make it into the $1 billion club, it is still a massive success. There is no denying that at all. No denying that. A $900 million box office against a budget of only $100 million is nothing to scoff at. And so it's no surprise at all that they're making a sequel to it. I'm not saying I support this movie getting a sequel or anything like that. I'm just saying, wow, I can't believe a movie that made a lot of money at the box office is gonna get a sequel. That's so crazy, guys. That's so shocking. Now, because this movie was literally just announced, we have no idea what it will be like. We have no idea the storyline for the movie. We don't know anything like that. We don't know if this is going to be like a completely original story, or if this is going to be a live-action remake of any of the direct-to-video sequels for the original Lilo and Stitch. But honestly, I feel like the inevitable has been delayed long enough. I will not be surprised in the slightest if Disney eventually makes a live-action remake of one of the direct-to-video sequels. It's just practically inevitable. Whether they choose to adapt any of the direct-to-video sequels or they make a completely new plot from the ground up, it's pretty much inevitable that Angel, the pink version of Stitch, is gonna appear in this sequel. I mean, that's just a money-making opportunity that I doubt Disney would want to miss out on. I wouldn't be surprised if the movie ends up retconning a lot of the controversial changes that the first film made, namely the decision to have Nani leave behind Lilo in order to attend a marine biology college in California. I wouldn't be surprised if Disney saw the backlash surrounding this change and they decided, oh, you know what, For this sequel, we're gonna have it take place after Nani completed her course and she's back at home with Lilo. That would make the post-credits scene of the first movie pointless in retrospect, where Lilo and Nani visit thanks to this totally not copyright infringing portal gun that they got. But I could very easily see Disney not wanting to take any risks at all like they did with this first movie, and just give audiences what they want. Another one of the most criticized changes this remake makes to the original is the absence of Gantu, who was the main villain of the original movie. If I recall correctly, the reason why they couldn't include Gantu in this movie was because they couldn't find a way to have him work in CGI, in like the photorealistic CGI style. Presumably as well, it has something to do with the rather low budget the movie had, and God, you know movies are really fucking weird now when $100 million is considered a low budget. But it had this low budget because it was supposed to be a streaming movie before it got moved to theaters. Lilo and Stitch 2 over here is going to be a theatrical movie from the ground up, and so because of that, it is very likely going to have a higher budget than the first movie. And I feel like they're going to want to retcon that change of not having Gantu in the movie. Now it'll be possible now because of the higher budget. This would also retcon another controversial change this movie made to the original, where Jumba became the main villain instead of Gantu. I haven't seen the original Lilo and Stitch in a very long time, and I barely remember what happens in it, but even I knew that something was off, something was different about the way the movie portrayed Jumba. I feel like Disney is going to want to take notes from the How to Train Your Dragon remake, which, although it hasn't made as much money as Lilo and Stitch, it's proven to be much more successful with critic reviews and audience reviews. I mean, I guess you could say Lilo and Stitch is a winner with general audiences, but How to Train Your Dragon is even more of a winner with general audiences because the movie is extremely faithful to the original animated How to Train Your Dragon. Now, some people think that this makes the movie bad, but I look at it from the perspective of that just makes the movie even more of a crowd pleaser. Don't change anything and just keep things exactly the way that they were. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I wouldn't be surprised if Disney ends up looking at how audiences perceive the How to Train Your Dragon remake versus how they perceive the Lilo and Stitch remake, and they're gonna just want to take a page out of what the How to Train Your Dragon remake did, not just for this Lilo and Stitch sequel, but also potentially for all of their live-action remakes. I really doubt that Disney is going to want another Snow White situation to happen. I know Disney is stupid, but I really doubt they're that stupid. I feel like the whole play everything 100% safe option is only gonna really work with if they adapt any of the direct-to-video sequels. If they make a completely original story from the ground up, then that's risky in of itself, to come up with a new story with these characters that none of us have ever seen before. It could end up being a crowd pleaser in the sense that like it retcons all of the changes that the remake makes to the original, but I feel like there is that extra risk with if they make a completely original story from the ground up. Either way though, I can't help but be curious as to see how this Lilo and Stitch sequel will turn out. Will it be a live-action remake of one of the direct-to-video sequels, the first of its kind, or will it be a completely original story from the ground up? I know people are gonna bring up Mufasa, but that was a prequel, not a sequel. I could be wrong on this, but if I remember correctly, wasn't Aladdin 2019 supposed to get a sequel and then it never did? For better or worse? I don't know. I'm just bringing it up. I don't like the fact that Disney is making this movie. I'm not a big fan of the live-action Lilo and Stitch remake. I was willing to give it a shot because the trailers actually made it look pretty decent for live-action Disney remake standards, and then I watched the movie, and Okay, I'll admit it, as far as live-action Disney remakes go, this is probably the best one, but that isn't really saying much when the movie is a 4 out of 10 at best. And the changes that the movie makes to the original do not help in the slightest. I went into this live-action Lilo and Stitch remake expecting it to be the complete opposite of the Snow White remake, and well, look how that turned out. I mean, of course, the backlash surrounding this movie is nowhere near the same level as the backlash surrounding Snow White, but, still. I would have thought Disney would want to play it completely safe for this movie, given the fact that Lilo and Stitch is a far more popular, far more beloved movie than Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. But alas, that ended up not being the case. But even with that, though, the movie still ended up being successful, because it's f***ing Lilo and Stitch. I know it's hard to accept it, but general audiences do not care about whatever the internet thinks of the changes that this movie makes to the original. It doesn't even matter what I think of the changes. I could be supportive of the changes, or I could be against the changes, in which I am against the changes. I could be neutral towards the changes. It doesn't matter, because my opinion does not represent the general public's opinion. They don't care about whatever changes the movie makes to the original. They just want to see funny, cute alien do funny, cute alien things. That's just how it is. I'm sorry. I don't like the fact that they're making a sequel, but come on now. It shouldn't come as much of a surprise that this is happening. This was inevitable. You look at how much money this movie has made, and then you realize, yeah, it was practically inevitable this was gonna get a sequel. There is a non-zero chance this sequel could end up being better than the original, but I highly doubt it. This is live-action Disney remakes we're talking about here. This is modern Disney that we're talking about here. Disney is notorious for not doing very well when it comes to their sequels. If Disney can't succeed in making sequels to their animated movies, then why the hell should I believe that they'll succeed in making sequels to their live-action remakes of their animated movies? Explain that to me. Regardless of how this sequel turns out, let's face it, it's gonna be successful. It's gonna rake in a lot of money. Disney would have to try really hard to seriously f things up in order to have people not go and see this movie and have it flop or underperform. I gotta hit y'all with the reality that Snow White was a fluke. I never bought into the whole thing that Disney was gonna stop making live action remakes because of the Snow White remake, because they had this movie come along. And even before it came out, I knew it was going to be massively successful. And it ended up being massively successful. And now it's about to get a sequel, and this sequel is very likely going to be massively successful as well. Need I remind you once again, the internet is not real life. I'm sorry. The internet can cry and scream about how much they hate these live-action Disney remakes and how Disney doesn't make original movies anymore. I know people have been talking about oh, Hollywood doesn't make original movies anymore, but it's especially funny when people say it for Disney, because Disney kinda never made original movies from the beginning. Almost all of their movies are adaptations of famous fairy tales and stories and whatnot. There's probably only a handful of Disney movies that are purely original, like Wreck-It Ralph or Zootopia, but that's beside the point. I don't like the fact that this movie's happening, but I completely understand why it's happening. If I made a movie that had a budget of $100 million and it ended up making $900 million at the box office, almost $1 billion, yeah, I would make a sequel just like that. I don't blame Disney at all. I don't blame them. Anyways, that's about it. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to like, and if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing, as it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you everyone for watching this video, and I will see y'all next time. Adios.